Lena Moore thought she was filming a peaceful weekend vlog. Instead, she recorded her own death. What began as a relaxing solo trip to a remote cabin turned into a chilling mystery that left investigators speechless and viewers haunted. Her camera never stopped recording, and what it captured in those final moments still can't be explained. Lena Moore thought this weekend would clear her mind. She'd spent weeks telling her subscribers she needed a break from city noise, social media pressure, and the endless notifications that followed her everywhere. Her plan was simple: drive to a small wooden cabin deep in the Washington woods, film a few clips for her YouTube channel, and spend a couple of days offline. Her audience loved her solo travel vlogs, and this one was meant to be calm and easygoing. But what she captured on camera would become one of the most unsettling pieces of footage ever uploaded online. The video began cheerfully enough. Lena stood on the porch of the cabin, coffee mug in hand, the morning light washing her face in gold. The forest behind her looked peaceful, untouched, almost too still. She smiled into the lens and said she was excited for a weekend of quiet. She panned the camera slowly, showing the trees, the dirt road, and the small lake visible through the branches. Everything seemed perfect till something subtle appeared on screen. In the background, near the edge of the trees, there was a faint movement. A shadow, maybe just the wind. But when viewers later slowed down the footage, it didn't move like a branch. It moved like a person. If you were watching this for the first time, you might not notice it right away. But pause at the 22-second mark and look closely. Do you see it? Comment below if you caught it before I mentioned it. Most people don't back in the video. Lena continued filming, unaware of anything strange. She unpacked her bags, showed off the tiny kitchen, and joked about how the cabin didn't even have Wi-Fi. Her laugh sounded natural, but there were small moments where her eyes drifted toward the window, her smile faltering just slightly. Maybe she heard something outside, maybe not. At the time, no one paid attention to it. Later, she set up her camera near the porch railing to film herself reading a book. It was sunny, quiet, peaceful. For a few minutes, nothing happened until the sound of crunching leaves echoed faintly in the background. She turned her head toward the trees, but didn't move otherwise. Her face tightened for half a second before she shrugged it off and went back to reading. The comments section later filled with people claiming they heard footsteps. If you re-watch that part, you can decide for yourself. Were they footsteps or just the wind? That afternoon, she explored the nearby trail, capturing short clips of the forest. The video showed her laughing at her own clumsy hiking shoes and taking selfies with her tripod. It all looked harmless, even boring. But there was one clip where she walked past the camera, and for a fraction of a second, a dark shape crossed behind her. The autofocus struggled to adjust, causing the image to blur. When it cleared, nothing was there. The audience who saw it months later would replay that section over and over, convinced something or someone was in those woods. By early evening, the sunlight began to fade. Lena recorded herself lighting a small fire in the stone pit outside the cabin. She toasted a marshmallow, laughed at how unevenly it burned, and talked to her viewers as if they were sitting beside her. She told them how safe and calm she felt, how she wished she could stay longer. She didn't notice the faint reflection in the cabin window behind her at all, dark outlines standing just beyond the light's reach. Now, here's a question for you. Would you ever stay in a place this isolated, completely alone? No neighbors, no phone signal, no way to call for help. Type yes if you think you could handle it, and know if you'd pack up and leave. And while you're here, hit that like button. It helps the story reach more people who love creepy mysteries like this one. The final clip of that day was short. Lena sat inside, her face lit only by candlelight, talking softly about how quiet the night was. "It's peaceful," she said, staring off camera for a moment. Then she looked back, smiled, and added, "See you guys tomorrow." The camera didn't show what happened after she stopped recording, but investigators later discovered that the file ended exactly 30 seconds after she turned her head toward the window, her expression shifting from calm to uneasy. The next morning, her camera continued recording, but Lena Moore would never be seen alive again. If you've made it this far, you might want to keep watching, because what her camera captured next isn't just strange. It's terrifying. The next part of the video began early the following morning. The sky outside was grey, and rain dripped steadily from the cabin roof. The sound of it tapping against the window made the room feel smaller, quieter. Lena appeared on camera wearing a hoodie, her hair tied back, speaking softly as she made breakfast. She laughed about her burnt pancakes and said the weather gave her cozy horror movie vibes. Her tone was light, but her movements were noticeably slower, her voice a bit flatter. She didn't seem as relaxed as the day before. At first glance, everything in this section looked ordinary. She filmed herself drinking coffee, flipping through her journal, and tidying up the small kitchen. But near the 2-minute mark, the camera glitched for half a second. Just a quick flicker of static, and in that moment, a blurred shape appeared outside the window behind her. It was hard to tell what it was. Some said it looked like a person standing still. Others believed it was just a trick of the rain. Whatever it was, Lena didn't turn around. She didn't seem to notice anything at all. When detectives later analyzed the footage, they noticed something subtle in her behavior. She kept glancing toward the front door and then quickly looking away, as if trying not to draw attention to the fact that she was nervous. Her hands trembled slightly while she poured another cup of coffee. For viewers who saw the video after it was found, that small detail made their stomachs turn. It was the kind of fear that creeps up slowly, the kind you try to ignore until it's too late. By mid-morning, the sound of rain had stopped, but the footage showed her pacing near the windows. She picked up the camera and whispered about hearing noises during the night. "It sounded like footsteps," she said quietly, though her tone was uncertain. The next second, the screen went black. The recording had cut off without reason. When the video resumed, hours had passed. The timestamp showed late afternoon, but the sky was already dim. Lena's hair looked messy, and her eyes seemed red, as though she hadn't slept. She spoke quickly, her voice shaking, saying she wanted to go for a walk to get fresh air. The camera followed her as she stepped outside, the lens shaking slightly in her hand. Every sound felt louder, now the crunch of wet leaves, the distant call of crows, the faint creak of the cabin door closing behind her. She filmed her walk through the forest, describing the trees and the stillness around her, trying to sound calm. But the longer she walked, the more she turned the camera back toward the path behind her. Once, she stopped suddenly, breathing unevenly, staring at something off-screen. The camera didn't catch what she saw, only her reaction. Her pupils widened, and she whispered, "Hello." The silence that followed was unbearable. What would you do if you were in her place? Would you run? Would you try to keep filming? Or would you freeze, hoping whatever's there doesn't move closer? Think about it, Tand, if you haven't yet. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss stories like this one. The footage continued with her walking faster, her breathing becoming sharper. The forest seemed to grow darker even though it was only late afternoon. The path twisted, and the camera caught short flashes of her face panicked, confused, trying to stay composed for her audience. It was the last moment where she seemed aware of being filmed. Then the picture shook violently. The lens tilted toward the ground, showing only her boots and the wet dirt beneath them. A snapping branch echoed from somewhere nearby, followed by her sharp intake of breath. The camera tumbled and landed sideways, half buried in leaves. From that angle, it captured nothing but the forest floor. The sound of footsteps followed, slow, deliberate, heavy. Then silence. For nearly 3 minutes, the recording stayed on, capturing only faint static and the sound of wind. At one point, a shadow crossed the corner of the frame, so faint that viewers debated whether it was real or just lighting distortion. But when police cleaned the footage, they confirmed there was motion, something large moving between the trees. The final seconds of this clip were chilling. A single breath, close to the microphone, as if someone leaned over the camera, then the sound of the record button being pressed. When the video cut to black, it stayed that way for several hours. No one knows what happened during that time. The next segment, discovered on the same memory card, picked up again just before midnight, this time with Lena running through the woods, her voice breaking, her flashlight flickering in the dark. Her peaceful weekend retreat had turned into something else entirely. The recovered footage from that night began in near total darkness. The timestamp showed it was 12:43 a.m. The only light came from Lena's small flashlight and the blinking red dot of her camera recording. The beam wobbled with every step she took, revealing flashes of tree trunks, tangled branches, and patches of mist rising from the forest floor. Her breathing filled the audio, short, sharp, uneven. She was whispering, but her words were too quiet to understand. Occasionally she stopped, turned the camera toward the woods behind her, and listened. Each pause stretched into long, unbearable silence. Investigators later enhanced the sound, and claimed they heard another set of footsteps faintly overlapping with hers. They were slower, heavier, almost matching her rhythm. Viewers who analyzed the video frame by frame said, "You could see flashes of movement in the distance, something following her from just beyond the edge of her flashlight beam." Lena seemed exhausted. She stumbled once, the camera swinging wildly, capturing only darkness and the sound of her hitting the ground. When she lifted it again, her face filled the screen for a brief second, smeared with dirt, eyes wide and glistening. She whispered, "It's close," and then turned the lens outward again. Those were the last words she ever said on camera for nearly 2 minutes. The video showed her walking quickly but quietly, pointing the flashlight in random directions. Then, out of nowhere, came a faint rustling sound. She spun toward it, the camera jerking so fast that the image blurred. Something moved behind a tree, but before the light could focus, it was gone. Her breathing grew louder, almost desperate, but she kept moving. It was as if she knew stopping wasn't an option. The next part of the footage made most viewers look away. The light caught a glimpse of something pale between the trees, something shaped like a face, half hidden in the shadows. It didn't move or blink. The camera turned sharply as if she'd seen it too. She broke into a run, her voice cracking into short gasps. Branches whipped across the lens as she sprinted through the woods, her flashlight bouncing wildly. If you were in her place, what would you do? Would you try to find your way back to the cabin, or just keep running? Think about it, every direction looks the same. The dark pressing in on you, the cold air burning your lungs. Would you even know which way was safe anymore? The recording shook violently as Lena tripped again, this time dropping the flashlight. The camera landed facing upward, showing the treetops swaying above her. For a moment, she was out of frame. Then her hand appeared, grabbing the camera and setting it back up on the ground, pointing toward herself. She crouched in front of it, crying, whispering broken sentences that the microphone barely caught. Something about someone watching and it won't stop. Her face was pale and wet with rain. Her lips trembled as she tried to catch her breath. Behind her, the forest remained still. Then, for less than a second, a shadow shifted. It was tall, thin, and motionless, almost blending into the trees. Some viewers believed it was a man wearing dark clothes. Others argued it wasn't human at all, that the outline seemed distorted, its edges moving unnaturally, like static in motion. The moment she turned around, the camera caught her face in mid-reaction, eyes wide, mouth open, and then the image blurred as she screamed. The device fell sideways again, landing half in the mud. All that was visible was a tilted view of the clearing and her flashlight spinning on the ground, its beam cutting across the trees in dizzying circles. Then there was the unmistakable sound of footsteps approaching, slow and deliberate. After that, the audio changed. It picked up faint noises, dragging, rustling, then complete silence. The last visible image was the flashlight flickering out. The screen turned black, but the audio kept recording. If you turn the volume up high enough, you can hear something faint in those final 30 seconds, a whisper, deep and rough, saying her name. When the search team later found her camera, it was lying near a shallow stream, still powered on, battery almost drained. The device had recorded nearly an hour of static after the last clear moment. Every attempt to recover more footage beyond that point failed. Those who've seen the unedited version describe it as deeply unsettling, not because of what's visible, but because of what's not. The fear doesn't come from jump scares or screams. It comes from the empty spaces, the quiet seconds where you can feel that something's there. Watching, waiting, the internet called it the Lena tape. For weeks, people analyzed every frame, convinced there were hidden shapes in the shadows. Some even claimed they saw a faint reflection in the lens at the very end of face that didn't belong to Lena at all. What's your take? Was it someone stalking her, something supernatural, or just a terrified woman lost in her own panic? Leave your thoughts below, and remember, sometimes what you don't see is exactly what's meant to haunt you. When search teams finally found Lena Moore's body, it was 2 days after the last footage had been recorded. She was discovered lying face down near a shallow stream about 3 miles from the cabin. Her camera was found a few feet away, half buried in mud, still switched on. The battery had died, but the red light on top had burned long enough to capture her final hour. Investigators described the scene as calm, almost a calm. There were no signs of a struggle, no defensive wounds, and no blood. Her belongings were still in her backpack. Yet, something about the area felt wrong, the kind of wrong that no one could quite explain. The police ruled her death as unexplained. The autopsy revealed no signs of physical trauma, only extreme exhaustion and dehydration. It seemed as though she had been running for hours before collapsing. What confused authorities even more were the footprints surrounding her. There were clear impressions leading from the direction of the cabin to the creek, but none leading away. as if whoever or whatever had been following her had simply vanished. When her memory card was recovered, it contained several corrupted files, but technicians managed to restore a few. The final usable clip lasted just under a minute. It showed nothing but the trees, blurred and shaking, as if the camera had been picked up and carried for a short time after Lena dropped it. The faint sound of water could be heard, then static, and finally a low hum that didn't match any natural frequency. Experts couldn't explain it. When the footage was uploaded to her YouTube channel weeks later, it became an instant viral phenomenon. The video was titled Lena Moore's Final Moments. Millions of people watched it within days, some out of curiosity, others because they couldn't believe it was real. The first half looked like any ordinary vlog, bright, cheerful, even inspiring. But the second half was something else entirely. Fragmented images, trembling light, and a growing sense of fear that seeped through the screen. Online communities picked it apart frame by frame. Some claimed they saw a second figure reflected in the cabin window the night before she disappeared. Others said they heard whispering under her voice during the forest scenes. A few even posted slowed-down audio clips where, according to them, a faint male voice could be heard repeating her name. Whether it was real or not, no one could prove. But once you heard it, you couldn't unhear it. The case quickly drew national attention. True crime channels, paranormal investigators, and even documentary filmmakers all wanted to cover the story. Some believed Lena had been stalked by a local drifter. Others thought she might have experienced a psychological breakdown, losing touch with reality while alone in the woods. But none of those theories explained the missing footprints or the unrecognizable shape captured in the last few seconds of her video. Viewers began leaving comments under her final upload, thousands of them. People wrote that they felt chills while watching, that they sensed something watching them from behind their screens. Some said they saw movement in the reflection of the cabin door during the last shot, even though it was supposed to be empty. One viewer reported that every time they paused the video, a different shadow seemed to appear in the same spot. Whether these were coincidences or tricks of light didn't matter. The story had already taken on a life of its own. Lena's YouTube channel remains frozen in time. Her subscriber count still climbs each month, and her last post continues to gather comments daily. The final image on the video, the cabin door gently swinging open and shut in the wind, has become infamous. People say, if you look closely enough at the reflection in the glass, you can see something standing inside. For investigators, the case is still open but cold. Locals avoid the area now, claiming strange noises echo through the woods at night. Campers report hearing faint recordings of a woman's voice calling for help. Search parties have gone back to the site multiple times, each returning with new stories of equipment failure or distorted GPS readings. Nothing concrete ever turns up. If you've watched Lena's video, you probably felt that same sense of unease, the kind that makes you check your surroundings afterward. Some stories linger not because of what you see, but because of what your mind fills in when the screen goes black. So, what do you think really happened to Lena Moore? Was she chased by someone hiding in the forest? Did she lose herself to fear and confusion? Or was something out there, something that never left, even after the cameras stopped rolling? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life mysteries and chilling true crime stories. And next time you find yourself filming alone, far from anyone else, remember Lena Moore. Her camera never stopped recording, and maybe that's the only reason her story was ever found at all.